Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewire To Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewire To Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire To Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am so excited to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 134. Last episode, number 133, was about 5 ways a coach can change your life. That was one of my favorite episodes to record from a biased perspective of being a coach and having a coach, but also just the magical things that can happen when we evolve on a growth journey and we begin to tap into self-discovery, self-awareness, proving ourselves wrong, challenging ourselves. It is a far more rewarding path than staying stagnant, staying in the same mindset that you've had your whole life. So if you haven't checked out that episode, I definitely encourage you to. For today's episode, number 134, we are going to be chatting about the thing that you're avoiding is probably what you need the most. I want you to just repose. Sorry, I gotta move my keyboard out of the way. I encourage you to just repose that question back to yourself right now. The thing you're avoiding is probably what you need the most. The thing is we subconsciously avoid the things in which we're scared of, the things we don't feel worthy of, the things we don't feel adequate enough in, the things that we've been shown past negative experiences in before. Anytime we avoid something, we're avoiding it for a reason. The question that I want to pose to you guys today, though, is what if the things that you're avoiding are actually the things that could make your life a lot better? What if the things you're avoiding because of uncertainty, but how could they actually improve your life should you choose to focus on them? To make this land, I'm going to share a story with you guys. So, pretty much for as long as I can remember, I have not been great at math. As long as I can remember. I remember being in grade 2. No, I would have been in grade 1. My brother was in grade 3, and I remember he brought home division homework. I remember at 5-6 years old freaking out because I'm like, oh gosh, I don't ever want to get to grade 3. I could never do that. I don't know where this belief came from for me. I've just never been strong in math. And so from the age of 5 or 6, I had a deep fear of math. Continuing along to grade 11, I remember my teacher said, "We're all so surprised." I remember I was like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, me and this other math teacher we prejudged how good you'd actually do in grade 10 math." I remember I was like, "Okay, thank you, I think." And it just left me feeling like, well, you didn't even believe in me. You're my math teacher. How's that supposed to leave me feeling? And then came grade 12. And I remember I asked a question in class. And I used to be the type of person that if I raised my hand, it's probably because I had to go pee or I had a really big question I needed to ask. It was not very common for Jessie to raise her hand because that meant public speaking, which meant terrifying. In grade 12, I finally got the courage to ask a question because I was very confused. And at this point, this is predetermining if I'm going to pass or fail my exam, which then was going to predetermine university, and the whole spiel in grade 12. The sky is falling, basically. And I said, I don't understand. Can you re-explain that? And I remember the teacher looked at me and he said, I don't understand what you don't understand. And I have a lot of respect for this person, so in hindsight, it's kind of funny. But I remember in that moment, I was just like, yeah, you shouldn't have asked. You should get this, shouldn't you? But you don't. And I never asked a question again. And instead, I just avoided the subject. I got through the courses that I needed to, and then I wiped my hands clean after that. The belief and identity that I had was also reiterated through external things, people, which just made it become my reality. Like that was going to be my truth forever. Jumping ahead to my first year of college, I studied social work. And I remember on the first day, my instructor said, you guys are probably all here because you're bad at math. And the whole class laughed because kind of true. But I was like, oh, there it is again. There it is, that icky relationship with math and numbers. And so that was also permission giving to me to avoid numbers, which I then found out later in my career was a huge frig up because there's actually a lot of numbers involved in social work, but that's a whole side tangent. But I had just had this iced in belief that I was never going to be good at math. And I wish this was some cool story about how now I'm a math genius. I'm not. I'm still figuring it out. But that's what I'm hoping to make land now, is about how things that you're avoiding might actually be what you need most. Let me explain. I talk a lot, and on my last episode, because I talked about a coach, I talked about Alan quite a bit, who is my coach. Alan is somebody who is honestly a math genius. Statistically speaking, probably one of the highest people I would rate ever of all time in regards to math. And I stand by that belief. Even though he'd probably not enjoy me saying that, but that's my belief, and I do know that that's true. And I remember him having conversations with me about my M brain, that math part of our brain. We have spiritual, we have emotional, we have physical, we have mental. That mental part is that reverse engineering. That is math, right? That is our understanding of the world. That is physics, that is chemistry, that is neuroscience, that is psychology. I remember he asked me one day, 0 to 10, your M brain, where's it at? I was like, oh God, I'm about to be found out. It's like a 2. It's higher than that. But because of all my pre-assigned reasons, it's like a 2. And in hindsight now, I'm recognizing that's because I avoided so I didn't get better. We avoid the things that we're scared of, which reiterates to us that we're bad at them because we're not practicing. We're not trying. And as somebody who preaches that all the time, I had to find my blind spot of where are you not showing up? And so when he asked me that question, I said it too. He's like, okay, I hope you recognize you can only grow your business to a 2 then. I was like, oh shit, what do you mean? You cannot grow a business if you do not know how to reverse what you're growing. You cannot optimize your business if you don't understand numbers. I was like, it makes sense. Business, you should probably know numbers. And so I had to form this new relationship with something that I had been avoiding for most of my life. For 20 years of my life, I had a bad relationship with this one thing that's going to be my ticket to success or not. Okay, kind of need to figure this thing out. I had 2 choices. I needed to go learn every day and play catch up and get better, or I needed to be okay with a 2 out of 10 result. I had to choose. My story aside, I want you right now listening, contemplating for self. What is that thing that you are avoiding that might actually be that gap between where you are and where you want to go? How can you assess that for yourself? We all have things that we subconsciously avoid, and so this might take time to bring into your consciousness. It might seem so simple that I had a bad relationship with math, but if you are out there and you have a bad relationship with math and you want to be a business owner, guess what? You're only going to be able to grow in which to the extent you have a strong relationship with numbers. It just makes sense. But nobody teaches us this stuff. A huge part of my podcast is sharing things that nobody talks about. Nobody teaches us. I'm grateful now that I'm in corners, that I'm learning things that at 24 I'm able to express outwardly to teach other people. But we're not taught these things. In fact, it was glorified and celebrated in a way of me not being a strong math student. Well, thank God you're here then. Thank God you're going to be a social worker. It's almost like, what do you mean? It was like permission giving for everybody in that room to not try harder in math. Because you don't have to. You've made it. You're fine. Don't get so comfortable that you're going to start to avoid your blind spots. We're always going to have areas that are holding us back, whether we know them consciously or subconsciously. My goal is to bring them into your conscious mind so that they bother you so much that you want to improve them. Now, this now comes down to our relationship with failure. If I sat down right now and I tried to do a physics equation, I would probably be here for a week. If you gave me a brain and asked me to dissect it, I could probably do it. We all have our genius areas. Our genius areas are typically where our passion lies. When we don't have passion in an area, we likely won't invest time, effort, and energy into it. I don't really have a passion for math, so I choose to avoid it. However, recognizing that just because we don't enjoy something doesn't mean we shouldn't be getting better at it if it's going to optimize and allow our passions to expand further. Think about how many people I'll be able to impact through my passions, through my podcast, through my coaching, through things that I love to do, if behind the scenes I'm focusing on dialing up my system. I'm focusing on learning. I'm focusing on numbers.
I know exactly what it's like to not know where to turn, to feel alone, helpless, and stuck. My goal as a coach is to help clients from a trauma-informed perspective see your worth and develop self-belief so you may chase your dreams and trust your intuition to live the most aligned, fulfilling life possible. If you're looking to elevate your life to the next level but aren't sure where to start, I would absolutely love to connect. If you're feeling pulled or curious, please use the link in the show notes below to book your free call. I look forward to connecting and supporting you on your own unique journey.
Think how much further of an impact I can make. We don't set goals because we don't know how to reverse them. Reversing them is math. And now I'm not projecting that everybody's kryptonite is math. What is it for you? Is it social? Is it emotional? Is it spiritual? Is it science? Is it what insert thing here that is for you that is likely holding you back in at least one area of your life? Without admitting to self that we fear the things in which we need the most, you'll never truly be fulfilled, I don't think. Because now that I have and hold that duality in my mind, it's like, I know my biggest weakness. I know my biggest kryptonite. Nobody can poke at that for me because I already know what it is. It allows you to also hone in your focus on what you need to work on. If you are at the beginning of your growth journey or never even started it but are like curious, like what is this growth journey? Get to know what your biggest weakness is and pair that with your biggest strength to fuel your belief back up. Because if I only focused on my M brain all the time, I would probably have really so low self-worth because I'd be feeling really crummy about myself. But as soon as I then step into an area that I have knowledge on, we start to feel better. And so it's how do we hold that duality of both things? How can we give ourselves permission to fail, be okay with failure, knowing that we will improve, giving ourselves that permission to improve? What in your life intimidates you, scares you, overwhelms you? It probably makes you feel that way because you, A, don't understand it, you have bad experiences with it, or you have no experiences with it. I see this all the time with public speaking. Public speaking scares you, intimidates you, and overwhelms you because maybe you're not a strong communicator. Maybe you've never spoken in front of people. Maybe you're comparing to somebody who's been speaking for 50 years. What are you comparing to, and is it accurate? Compare to yourself. Compared to who you want to be in a year while aspiring to be like people that are ahead of you. Asking yourself, Would my life improve if I built a better relationship with the thing that I'm subconsciously avoiding? Maybe this is fitness for you. Maybe it's nutrition. Maybe it's your habits. What is it for you, my friend, that you are subconsciously avoiding or consciously avoiding? You might know the things that you are, trying to avoid. How could your life improve if you built a better relationship with that? Powerful question. If the answer is yes, that your life would improve, we need to begin by focusing on switching your identity. Identity work is everything for me in everything that I practice. Because I held on to the identity that I am bad at math, I choose to avoid it. We avoid the things in which we don't have a good identity or relationship with. If you do not have the identity that you're an athlete, you're not going to treat yourself like an athlete. If you do not have the identity that you're a strong speaker, you're going to avoid speaking. Our identity is everything. So some things that I wrote down that I encourage you to start to do, and if you're watching video, I'm so sorry. My nose is so itchy right now. There's hairs on this mic from my cat, and I'm just like scratching up my nose like crazy, so I'm so sorry. Ways you can begin to switch your identity. The first one, look for someone who's ahead of you. Listen to my last episode about coaching. This goes deep on this. Look for someone who's ahead of you. Find resources and learn 1% a day. I'm not sitting here hammering math books every day. I'm choosing little areas at a time, studying it, figuring out what it means for me, asking my coach for guidance, asking him to help me, leaning on someone who's ahead of me, and focusing on 15 minutes a day of learning. Don't overcomplicate it. You'll overwhelm yourself. Validate your experiences around it. It would be naive of me to not acknowledge for myself why in some ways I have a bad fear of math, why I avoid it. Because I had multiple people and reasons why reiterating that belief for me. I had to get extra help for math. I remember later in school, after I found out about grade 3 and then grade 3 came around, guess who had extra help? I was that student that was pulled out of the classroom to do these random tests on the side, and I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I so different than my classmates? And I felt stupid, and I felt inadequate, and I felt behind, and it's like, although now looking back, it's okay, they were just trying to help, my identity was formed that I am the worst math student. So I carried that belief. Validate your strengths. And whenever, again, as I mentioned, you feel inadequate, also lean on your strengths. Don't hyper-focus on the things you're not good at because it will crush you. We all have things we're not good at and things we're good at. All of us. Don't let it crush you. Allow it to just inspire you to want to learn new things. We're not supposed to be geniuses in everything. We're not supposed to be amazing at everything. We're supposed to have our things. That's what makes us unique. So focusing on your strengths while also validating where your weaknesses might be, where your blind spots might be. That's okay. That's what makes us human. And last but not least, I guess I just said this one that I wrote down. I presupposed that I was going to say this. Know that we all have strengths and weaknesses. You're not alone in having an area of your life that you are less adequate in. That does not make you less than anybody else. That just sheds light and shows you where you need to maybe focus more of your time. So, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. The thing that you're avoiding is probably what you needed most. Because if you already knew that you needed it, you'd probably have it. You know, if I knew years ago that I was going to need math, I would have started so much earlier. I would have gotten curious earlier. But because I didn't admit that to self or recognize the degree in which I needed to know it, I avoided it. We all do this. It's a protector. We don't want to be hurt. We don't want to be found out. We don't want to fail. And so we avoid the things we're not good at instead of getting better at them. Newsflash. Everything you're good at, you were once a beginner at. Yes, we can have quantum abilities. We can have things that we have natural gifted talents in. But everything you do, you had to have one rep at some point in time in your life. We don't start out as masters. We grow through time and effort and trial and error. Don't let this be different for your life. And don't forget that it's never too late to learn. If you are 10 listening to this, 20 listening to this, 30 listening to this, 70 listening to this, I don't care. It's never too late to improve those areas of your life that you might have painted a presupposed picture that you're not good at it just because it's not your natural strength. So, sending you guys so much love. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episodes of Rewire to Inspire. I'm going to be doing some rebranding on my podcast, changing some of the intros, the midtros, the outros, all the things. We are rebranding, we're evolving. I don't know when that's coming or what that looks like, but I'm at a place now where I'm just ready to redesign my show, redesign my approach, redesign everything. And I've evolved so much since I started this podcast, and I want it to evolve with me. And I want it to grow with me and be a reflection of the evolvement that I'm doing behind the scenes. So if you guys enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you guys could rate this show below, leave a review, hit that plus sign. I release new content every single Tuesday and Thursday, and I would absolutely love to have you here with me so we can learn, grow, and evolve together. So thank you guys so much as always. I look forward to chatting with you all next week. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at JessieBrown13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.